My name is Shubha Swamy, and I'm a licensed professional counselor. And right now, been trying to address some of your questions that have been coming in, both from my clinical practice and from outside sources. And one of the things I've been hearing a lot is couples wanting tips and strategies on how they can best communicate during this really uncertain time, and some ways that they can still find connection, and I think mainly tolerate and figure out ways to manage the uncertainty of their assisted reproductive cycles, specifically when their IVF or IUI or transfer dates are going to happen, and how it's really difficult sitting with no answers and nothing on the calendar. So similarly to when folks are just in a place of uncertainty, to this kind of crisis and uncertainty that we are all sitting in, I think it's so important to maybe schedule time is one strategy. Like pick a day, maybe Thursdays at 5 o'clock. That's a time to really sit, talk about the frustrations, the fears, the questions, maybe even having like, well, if this happens, then let's do this, or if it doesn't come about by June, then maybe we plan a little trip, or we're going to invest some time in doing this project, just so it feels like there is still, you both are still contributing and making active plans and are on the same page and are working together, and not feeling so disempowered and powerless around that big question mark about when your fertility timeline, or how is it going to look, your fertility timeline. I think what typically can happen with couples that I see is that there might be one person, one partner who is more accepting of the process, accepting of the unpredictability and the lack of guarantees and the lack of certainties, and willing to adopt a positive mindset around just accepting what comes when it comes, and that we'll deal and we'll be able to cope with however this unfolds. And then there might be another partner who might be more prone to anxiety and worry, and might get more physically and mentally and emotionally upset and disrupted, like their mood and their homeostasis can get disrupted by this uncertainty. Both are completely valid and understandable. And like I said, I often see this dynamic, which in a way can be really complementary. One person who maybe holds some of that stress and anxiety might be the one who also helps fuel the discussions and gets decisions made and helps like let's flesh out and talk things through, where the other partner might offer some more of that calm and peace and pragmatic perspective. I think what's so important here, especially because this is really triggering, I think for a lot of us, even those of us who weren't prone to anxiety or worries before, it is coming up now, is to meet each other with empathy. So that would be my second strategy, is to really try and meet each other with empathy and understanding. And that might look like, I hear you. I hear how anxiety provoking this is. I hear that this is so worrisome and unfair and upsetting and scary, not knowing when we're going to get to move forward in our cycle. What might happen to our donors' availability? What might happen with the clinics and the doctors and the embryologists? And when will it be our time? I understand that it's scary that our finances might change from now versus when we actually can proceed with our ART plans. And that for women especially, age is such a factor. And I know, again, even in normal times, for women, waiting a month, having procedures be delayed is very upsetting and anxiety producing, because we're so consciously aware of our reproductive timeline, our biological timeline. So waiting indefinitely it's a real stress. There's some real anxiety there. So if partners can really meet each other with understanding first, Try to name, hear what your partner is saying. Really try to reflect that and name that. I hear you're sad. I hear you're worried. I hear you're pissed off. I can tell, and I get it. I can see how this is really scary and really unfair. I think when we can mirror and reflect and show understanding and compassion, it soothes a great deal, and it allows for greater connection and intimacy. So a third tip or strategy I would try also is to, if any of you have heard of the Gottmans, they do an enormous amount of research and have been wildly knowledgeable and prolific in what they've produced in terms of tips for marriage success and for continuing intimacy and connection and healthy relationships. One, I would check out their website, the Gottman Institute. But two, they have a really great app called Love Decks. And what you can do is basically play games with each other. It's a way of sparking connection, curiosity, intimacy, interest. So you can play, one of the games on there is called Love Maps. And it's Q&A with your partner, right? Because we forget to still be curious and ask questions of our partners and get to know where they're at. We think we know everything after we've gotten through the dating phase. But the truth is, there's still a lot more to discover. And the more curiosity beyond, are you making dinner tonight? I'll pick up dry cleaning. Beyond those sort of questions, like, where do you hope to be in your career in 5 years? What's your dream trip? Things like that. And they have other categories too. So I think that maybe also scheduling time to play love decks, if you will, like sitting down with the app and passing it back and forth to each other and asking each other questions and taking time to really listen to the responses. This could be really sweet connecting time and building intimacy again and focusing on the relationship, which is so important. And you don't want to neglect the relationship because that's always going to be the basis of your family. It's your foundation, and it always needs tending to. Fourth, kind of along the same lines, I think really putting some energy and creativity and intention around connecting right now and talking about like what kind of schedule you all need. Because I'm guessing for a lot of folks, you are now spending a lot more time together, or at least in the same quarters. People are both working from home and trying to get work done, trying to deal with this crisis and figure out family support and all of that, is to maybe kind of come up with a schedule of when you're in your separate offices, when you're going to get together, and then also maybe some things to do together. There are some amazing resources out there right now for doing yoga online on YouTube, for playing games, like bust out some old board games or a chessboard or a deck of cards. Have a game night. We can easily do charades or Pictionary with very little supplies on hand. At our house, we bought a portable table tennis set and have attached it to the kitchen table when we're not having meals. And that's been really fun. Just trying to be creative, even doing a puzzle together. That's something that's really absorbing. It can be focusing and quieting. And it's something you could do separately, but together. Like maybe one of you works on it in the morning for a bit, the other works on it in the evening, and then you get to sort of see what the others contributed, and it's teamwork. So maybe trying something like that. But I think continuing to put effort into connecting, and not just about fertility plans and what's going to happen with the family building, but also really tending to the relationship, getting to know each other, finding connection, and listening to one another with empathy and compassion can be really helpful. I hope this is helpful to you all, and I'm here for you. We're here for you and really want to offer as much support as possible. Take good care.